Ladies and gents, welcome back. I've been waiting for the backpedaling from the COVID nutcases out there, and well, it hasn't come. It hasn't come. Instead, we've been seeing some rich takes, and let me tell you, this one is so rich, be careful. It might give you gout. This is, let's declare a pandemic amnesty. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said. We were in the dark about COVID by Emily Oster. And this one, I mean, you can't get any more rich than this. We need to forgive and forget. Of course, yeah, this coming from someone who was one of the more vitriolic of the ones. Anyway, the article goes on and on about what happened. I'm not going to go through the whole history, the histrionics of what happened here. But let's just jump to the chase here. The people who got it right for whatever reason may want to gloat, but those who got it wrong for whatever reason may feel defensive and entrenched into a position that doesn't accord with the facts. All of this gloating and divisiveness continues to gobble up a lot of social energy and to drive the culture wars, especially in the internet. These discussions are heated, unpleasant, and ultimately unproductive. It's unproductive to criticize people that were so absolutely terrible to their fellow citizens in the world here. Holy cow. In the face of so much uncertainty, getting something right had a hefty element of luck. It was luck. When people were told, don't do your own research, just listen. Follow the silence. Follow the science, we were told. But people who wanted to look further into it and make health decisions on their own, they were told they were conspiracy theorists. And similarly, getting something wrong wasn't a moral failing. Treating pandemic choices as a scorecard in which some people racked up more points than others is preventing us from moving forward. No, what was preventing us from moving forward was, I don't know, maybe banning the people who invented the technology in which you espouse as being the way out of this. Perhaps banning them from social media outright and making sure that they can't get their message out and we can't have open discussions, closing off discussions about this and telling people they can't work, they can't earn a living if they don't bend to your will and subject themselves to, well, medical procedures. We have to put these fights aside and declare a pandemic amnesty, she says. We can live without the willful purveyors of the actual misinformation while forgiving the hard calls that people had no choice but to make with imperfect knowledge. Again, you would have had better knowledge if we hadn't followed the political will rather than actually look into it. Los Angeles County closed its beaches in summer of 2020, which made absolutely no sense because there's no transmission outdoors. Ex post facto, I remember they closed skate parks. They closed skateboard parks in California. I remember reading the headlines. They filled them with sand so that people couldn't go outside and exercise during this because people were going crazy. Ex post facto, this makes no more sense than my family mass hiking trips. This person engaged in this stuff. But we need to learn from our mistakes and then let them go. Those people who lost their jobs, you need to just let it go. Those people who didn't get to see their loved ones in their last days, you need to let it go, this person says. We need to learn from our mistakes and then let them go. We need to forgive the attacks too. What? Forgive your attacks? Oh, I see. Because I thought schools should reopen and argued that kids as a group were not all at high risk. It was called the teacher killer and the I don't even know what that word is. It wasn't pleasant, but feelings were high and certainly don't need to distract. Anyway, I'll let you guys read the rest of this on your own. I want to get to the main point at the end. Rather than the debating the role and the messaging about COVID vaccines had in this decline, we need to She goes into the decline of education, all the negative aspects of what her advocacy actually led to. And rather than arguing about that, we need to put all that stuff behind us. We need to pull all our energy into bringing these rates back up. Pediatricians and public health officials will need to work together in our community outreach, and politicians will need to consider school mandates. Oh, again, this is referring to how other vaccines are in the decline. So she's advocating for more mandates. Oh, goodness. The Standard saying that that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, but dwelling on the mistakes of history can lead to a repetitive doom loop as well, she says. Let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices in the face of deep uncertainty, and then tried to work together to build back and move forward. It's almost with the Build Back Better, almost going full World Economic Forum there. We've been building back. Oh goodness. So of course I tweeted this out saying dwelling on the mistakes of a history can lead to a repetitive doom loop, in quotes. You're worse than an idiot. You're an unapologetic idiot. First step towards any healing process would be admitting your fault and then apologizing for it. Here's Toby Young. Brown Professor Emily Oster has called for a pandemic amnesty, pleading ignorance in the failed coercive policies. But were experts really ignorant? And is amnesty really the way forward? I don't know. Maybe we just weren't listening to the ones who were screaming from the hilltops, saying, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. But no, it was all about the politics and following the politics at the time. In his article here, we read, I'll admit I nearly spat out my coffee when I saw Brown Professor Emily Oster's new headline in The Atlantic on Monday morning. Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. We need to forgive one another for what we did. Asking for forgiveness, demanding forgiveness for what they did. It's the headline we've been waiting to see, and in the revisionist gaslighting style that's become the journalistic norm in the response to COVID. It's about the closest thing to an outright admission of guilt that we've seen since COVID began. Absolutely. So this is Professor Emily Oster. Here's some of her tweets out there. Widely unpopular and politically unfeasible, but I think governors should consider a short-term total lockdown over Thanksgiving weekend. This was in 2020. Even if schools are not themselves major vectors, they are places which need more of full lockdown, like right now. Back in 2020, advocating for lockdowns, advocating for employer mandates. This is the kind of thing that, well, we ended up having truckers go to our nation's capital here in Canada over. This is, God, I don't even know how to react to this. Like I said, it's so rich. Be careful, you might get gout. Libs of TikTok replying to this one, saying thousands of small businesses were forced to close their doors for good after the Democrats' lockdown policies. Now they want pandemic amnesty. It's a no from me. Absolutely. This one is from Majid Nawaz. Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. Nope. And, giving a video of...
I know, Mama.
Really, really sad.
Sickening. I love glass.
You. This is what people were put through. This is absolutely awful what people were put through. Dave Rubin saying absolutely no amnesty. Some of us did not lose our minds, did not force vaccines or lockdowns, instead fought for freedom the entire time. It's one thing to have gotten some things wrong over the past few years. It's another to have led the charge to destroy human freedom. Absolutely. This is a great one by Ivan Trumpovic. Shoved their amnesty where the sun don't shine. Let's declare it a pandemic amnesty. Best I can do is military tribunals. Sorry, man. That's the best I can do. Most people are actually calling for a Nuremberg type scenario for this. Let's have a trial. But this guy nails it in his call for, well, the pandemic amnesty. Here's his take.
Look. They want everybody to forget and forgive everything that happened during the pandemic. We were all in the dark. We were all afraid. Like, nah, bitch. Like, that was like we all got kidnapped and put together on an island, and then all of y'all bastards were like, we should eat them. And we're like, what the fuck? And then now they took us off the island, and we're just looking at you on the ride home like, and you're like, oh, wasn't that crazy? And we're like, nah, bitch. You tried to eat us. I didn't kick you out of no stores. I didn't ruin your job. I didn't tell you couldn't come to the family reunion. I didn't tell you had to drop dead of a heart attack because you didn't get the jab, so you're not welcome at this hospital. There ain't nothing to forgive on my side, baby boo. This is a you problem, and we're still talking about it.
Anyway, some good takes online in this this thread. Go check it out on Twitter. I'll leave links in the description, as always, down below. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of a COVID amnesty for all the people who are the most vitriolic, the ones who are advocating for business to be lost? You can't see your loved ones. You can't visit family. You can't go to the skateboard park, fill it with sand, like most ridiculous people on the planet, and not asking for forgiveness. No, asking for amnesty. Amnesty for what they did without having to, of course, face responsibility for their actions. Let me know in the comments down below if this is your first time watching this video or one of these videos, or maybe you've watched several of them and you have not yet subscribed to the channel. Use maybe this video to consider subscribing today. Hit that notification bell. It lets you know when I go live. We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.